Okay, so today's class is designed to give you a full body movement. I know you've been spending a lot of time sitting at your desk working away on your academics. So here's a quick 20-minute flow that will target all the main movements, all the main muscles. We've got some mobility and stability work hidden throughout. So we'll get you to start laying down on the floor. Hopefully you've had a chance to do your head to toe scan. If not, take a quick minute, get yourself organized, get yourself settled, relax into the ground. And take a deep breath in and exhale, relaxing everything into the floor. Begin to roll your wrists, roll your ankles, bend your fingers, bend your toes. Slowly start to tilt your head left to right, dropping each ear to the floor. And on your next inhale, arms come up over top of your head, point your toes, feet in together, nice big stretch. Take full advantage of this one. And exhale, release your arms back down to your sides. Inhale, bring your knees in towards your chest. Give yourselves a nice squeeze. You can grab onto your hamstrings if you'd like. Leave the head relaxed down on the ground. Slowly rock side to side again, targeting that low back area. Sometimes it helps to take the knees out towards the sides, flattening and widening that space a bit. I'll get you to stay in the middle there. Exhale, release your left leg down onto the mat. Keep your right knee bent in. Give yourselves a good squeeze here. Make sure your head and neck stay relaxed. Keeping the ankle flexed, toes pointing up. And just take a few moments to breathe. So we'll get you to tuck your chin in just slightly. Create some more space through the back of the neck. Again, if it helps, you can take your knee out towards the side. So pulling it just slightly over helps relieve some of the pressure off the hip. And inhale, bring it back into the center. And on your next exhale, we'll switch. So extending the right leg down the mat. Inhale, bringing the left knee in towards your chest. So always noticing the difference left versus right. You may hold more tension, have a weakness, have an area that is a little more tight, lack mobility in certain joints on one side versus the other. So important to tuck your chin just slightly once more. Important to always check in with yourself and see how you're feeling. Move to move, side to side. Also a nice way to help keep yourself present. Be mindful of what you're doing, just to avoid that brain from all those outside thoughts. So again, taking that leg out to the side if that helps as well. And exhale, release that leg down. So one more big stretch. Inhale, arms all the way up over top of your head. Point your toes. Big, big stretch. Exhale, drop your arms back down to your sides. Inhale your knees in once more. And rolling over onto the left, we're going to begin with some windmills. So if you haven't watched any of the other videos, I'll give you a quick review. We want to support our head with our left arm extended out. Head remains relaxed. Bring your knees up in line with your hips, a little bit higher. Really important to keep these knees stacked on top of one another. Your right arm is extended out, right across the chest. As you inhale, you're going to start to sweep up, tracing your fingers along the floor, watching your fingers as you rotate around. Exhale as you come back down. So if you're working in a small space, let's say your dorm room, just adjust yourself on your mat. You may have to scooch down a little bit. if you start hitting somebody's bed or somebody's desk. It's okay to constantly be adjusting. So remember here to keep the knees stacked on top of one another. What this does is it locks the hips in place, locks the pelvis, forcing that rotation to come through your upper back, through your T-spine, which is what we're working on. We're working on some mobility in through the T-spine. So let's do one more big full circle. Again, keep those knees stacked. Try not to let them slide. And we'll roll over onto the other side and we'll do 5. So really important here to make sure you're going to the rhythm of your own breath, inhaling as you sweep up and exhaling as you begin to sweep down. So again, scooching down a little bit, perhaps, Ian. Make sure you are able to achieve that full range of motion, that you don't have barriers in the way. So watch as he opens through the chest. You'll notice that he has a little bit less mobility on this side of his body when he rotates over to the left. So you may notice that yourself. But he's already getting better. Just make sure you watch these knees, okay? It's easy to start to focus on getting those fingers right down to the floor, but often what happens is you lose touch with the knees, and that's really important. So let's do one more big full swoop. And when you're ready, I'll get you to roll over onto your back. So coming into a dead bug position. Most of you are probably familiar with this from first year. So hands up, legs up, in a position as though you were a dead bug. So what we're going to do here is, with your opposite arm and opposite leg, you're going to lower those at the same time. Inhale, bring them back up. And switch. So what we're looking for here is that arch in your lower back. We want to make sure that that's flattened into the ground. So it's going to force you to engage your core a little bit. So this is an anti-extension movement. One of the main movement categories of the core. So if he were to lose the integrity of his core right now, his core would fall into extension, which is what we're trying to avoid. So it's anti-extension. We're trying to not allow that movement to happen. So it doesn't matter how far you go down. What matters is that you're engaging your core, making sure there's no space in between the floor and your low back. So let's do 2 more on each side, nice and slow. Again, going to the rhythm of your breath. So inhale as you go down. Exhale as you come back up. So sometimes that breathing pattern can feel a little unnatural unless you've practiced it. And when you're done, you can drop your feet flat to the floor, keep your knees bent, arms down by your sides. Bring your knees into your chest, give yourselves a little hug. Roll out side to side if you feel like that helps. And dropping your feet flat to the floor, knees bent, arms down by your sides. So coming into a bridge position, how we get set up for this is our feet are hip width apart. Bring your heels back a little bit, just so the tips of your fingers touch, if you can. If not, space them out a little bit further, that's okay. So in a bridge, we're going to inhale, drive the hips up, squeeze the glutes together, squeeze the knees in towards one another, but we're gonna add in a march. So he's going to, one leg at a time, extend the knee. So what we're watching for here is that the hips don't dip side to side. So it requires quite a bit of focus. And this is an anti-flexion movement. So again, if he were to lose the integrity of his core right now, his hips would drop right to the floor into a flexion. So let's do 5 more on each side, nice and slow, to the rhythm of your breath. So exhale as you extend the leg, inhale as you bring it back. Once you're done, drop your hips down to the floor. And bring the knees into the chest once more. Slowly roll yourself up to a seated position. And transition right into tabletop. So we're going to stretch out the calves quick first. So what I'd like you to do is extend the right foot up, drive it back as far as it will go, drop the toes down, and push that heel through the back wall. So you should feel that nice stretch in through your calf muscle. If it helps to pump that foot a little bit, you can go ahead and do that. Inhale, coming back into a tabletop, and we'll reverse. So extend the left leg back, drive the foot back, drop the toes, push through the heel. Continuing to breathe throughout these movements. And inhale, coming back into a tabletop. Moving into a yoga plex, we're going to start off in a tabletop position. Curl your toes under, lift the knees up off the floor, drive the hips back into a down dog. Inhale the right leg up in the air. Swing it through, coming into a lunge. We're going to drop that other knee right down to the floor so our hips are locked in place. And we're going to open up and rotate through the T-spine. Right arm goes up into the air. Always remember to open up in towards the knee. Exhale, hand goes back down to the mat. Feet to the back. So back up into that extended position. Exhale, come back through. So we're going to do 5 on each side. Inhale, opening up. Exhale, drive that leg back right up in the air. Inhale, coming back into the lunge position. Drop that knee down. So each time you do it, see if you can gain a little more distance, a little more range of motion, looking up at the fingertips. Once you've done your 5, we'll switch over to the other side. So we're working on lots of T-spine mobility throughout today's class. It's really easy once you're hunched over a laptop or a computer to get really tight throughout the shoulders. You carry a lot of stress in your shoulders too. So this is a fun full body movement, really targeting that T-spine mobility. Once you've completed your 5, you can go back into a tabletop position. So from here, we're gonna do a bird dog. So this is the opposite of the dead bug that we did, except now we're flipped over. So you're gonna extend one arm and the opposite leg at the same time. So again, we're watching that low back area to make sure that we don't lose the integrity of the stability throughout the core here. So again, it doesn't matter how high you come up off the ground. Go ahead. Inhale. So we're watching the low back here. Hold it nice and tight. Drop it down. Just a little quick movement. Inhale up and go back down. So this is a quick movement. It doesn't have to last the whole breath. But what we do want is to make sure that this low back is not shifting. So it's not dipping, and then you have to reset it. Okay, we're trying to keep it nice and stable. So if you have your roommate there, you can ask them to even place a book on top of your low back. Make sure that it doesn't wiggle off. Let's do 2 more on each side. From here, we'll get you to curl your toes under, push your hips back into a down dog position. So while you're in down dog, you're constantly pushing your chest back towards your thighs, making sure that tailbone is pointing up, driving the weight down from your shoulders into your hands. It's okay if your heels come up off the floor. So what we're mainly concerned about is that hip positioning. So if you need to put a big bend in your knees and go right up on your tiptoes, that's fine too. And inhale, rolling into high plank. We're gonna roll over into side plank, over on the right-hand side. Opening up through the left. So what we're looking for here is that the hips stay nice and high. You can stay in this position, or if you'd like to add in an extra challenge, you can begin to lift this leg. We'll say 5 times. Try and keep those hips high as you do it. Keep that nice open chest. Exhale, arm comes back down once you've done your 5. Lower through chaturanga, so exhale. It's almost like a negative push-up. Inhale in through up dog, opening up through the chest. Exhale through to down dog. Catching your breath in down dog. And finding some comfort here. So bending your knees, pedaling your feet, trying to get comfortable. Feel free to take any movements right now that you feel you need. Drop the hips left to right. Roll the ankles. You can bend forward on your toes. Inhale into high plank and opening up into side plank on the left side. So again, keeping these hips nice and high, stabilizing throughout the core. Begin that abduction 5 times. Continuing to breathe throughout, so don't hold your breath. Try and keep a nice smooth respiration rate. And when you're done, back into high plank, slowly lower through chaturanga. Inhale, nice big open up dog. Peel the shoulders back. Exhale through to down dog. Your last down dog of the class. So make the most of it. Again, taking any more movements you feel that you need. And I'll get you to come down onto your knees, crossing the legs. I'm going to get you to transition right onto your back. Coming, legs down, extended down the mat. So we're going to come into an extended plane. So elbows digging deep into the ground, making a fist with your palms. You're gonna peel your chest up off the ground, dropping your head back, pointing your toes. Holding for 3, 2, and 1. Exhale, release down. And coming into your final Shavasana. So as always, taking up as much or as little space as you need, taking a few big deep breaths, beginning to relax into this position, palms facing up. Feel free to go into your own style of meditation at this point. Fun to spend a few minutes breathing here. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you next time.